This is Chris Lee of Southeastern 14, presented by Bearded Iris, here to recap SEC baseball games from Friday night, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. Let's start in Auburn, where LSU went into the night with I guess it was a half-game lead over Vanderbilt for the SEC's overall lead, and it came out still in first place. That's because of, guess who? Paul Skenes. It's Friday night. What else is going to happen with LSU baseball other than Paul Skenes basically dominating? And look, Paul Skenes had a couple of outings that were a little bit off for Paul Skenes. Not bad for most pitchers, but not vintage Paul Skenes. Well, throw that all out the window. He strikes out 15 guys in 7 1/3 innings in Auburn against a tough hitting lineup. Auburn is really just giving some teams fits lately with that ability to hit the long ball and just generate base runners. Anyway, Trey Morgan, who played left field for them last night, made a highlight reel play, hits a home run, gets 3 hits, knocks in all 3 runs. Auburn pieces the pitching together. The bullpen was actually pretty good, but when you're facing Paul Skenes, you got to be really on point offensively, and Auburn just wasn't, which happens when you face Paul Skenes. So anyway, Auburn drops to 9-13 in the SEC, LSU 16-5, and just a little bit ahead of Vanderbilt, which we'll get to the Commodores in just a minute. All right, and I thought one of the key games of the night, Tennessee goes to Athens, where Georgia's been really tough, and bombs LSU 12-3. A lot of that comes late. The Vols get 5 in the 7th and 5 in the 9th as Georgia's bullpen just implodes. Nolan Crisp, the Florida transfer, just wasn't very good. He gives up 5. So did Luke Wagner. I guess the good news, if you're Georgia, is you have saved Charlie Goldstein to Saturday's game, which is where he normally pitches. He's a lefty who's given a lot of teams fits lately. But the story for Tennessee, well, 2 stories. The pitching, Andrew Lindsey continues to give Tennessee good starts. Not a great start, I guess, because he just went 4 innings, but he threw 62 pitches, gave up 1 run. You'll take that anytime. The bullpen was good. Camden Sewell, I think, got the win in this with 2 2/3 innings. The Vols throw 6 guys and get the job done. Christian Moore hits 2 home runs. Zane Denton hits a home run. For Georgia, Cole Wagner and Will David each hit home runs. Tennessee is now 12-10, and I think if Tennessee can get one more in this series, it's time to start talking about the Vols as a legitimate hosting candidate, because Tennessee now 12-10 in the SEC. The RPI, I think 17 of this morning, as of this morning, depending on where you check. Georgia at 8-14, I think would probably be on the outside looking in at this point. But if Georgia can take the series and there's 2 games left, and then that changes too. So it's going to be a very interesting couple of days ahead in Athens, and Tennessee now has won, I've lost count, I think 7 in a row in the league, and maybe 8 or 9 overall after that loss to Tennessee Tech a couple weeks ago. The Vols, I guess the poster child for what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, because that schedule early was brutal. Tennessee went through some adversity with several things, and the Vols now playing about as well as anybody in the league. Okay, in Starkville, Dudy Noble, where the fans continue to turn out for what has just been losing baseball, to be honest. State is now 6-16 after last night, and just shows you how tough it is in the SEC. This is a program that has won consistently and won the national title 2 years ago. But again, State could not find great starting pitching. Cade Smith, one of their better arms, goes 6 and gives up 4. For Arkansas, here's the story. Dave Van Horn just continues to find a way to get it done. And they start Hagen Smith on Friday. He's been in sort of a utility role where he will start occasionally. He will come in out of the bullpen in high leverage situations and give them several innings. High leverage may not always be the best way to say it, but longer stints, I guess, is a better way to say it. But anyway, Gage Wood gives them 3 scoreless to end the game. They win that 6-2. They only give up 2 hits, which is quite a feat against Mississippi State in that park, in any park, but particularly in that park where State can really hit and get into you. And again, the crowds have continued to turn out, even though the product has not been, I think, what people expected. State fired a pitching coach this week. But Arkansas now 15-7, takes a 1-0 series lead. Jace Borfin, Brady Slavens both hit home runs for the Hogs. Our channel is presented by the Bearded Iris Brewing Company. It is Nashville's home for a beer that is unapologetically itself. memorably composed and fun to drink. They offer a wide variety of hop-focused offerings like IPAs and DIPAs, as well as select fruited sours, stouts, and a new hard seltzer, excuse me. Check them out in West Nashville and tell them that you heard about them on Southeastern 14. Okay, speaking of Nashville, Vanderbilt traveled to Tuscaloosa, and after getting absolutely embarrassed on Thursday night, turned the tables on Alabama with a 4-1 win. The key here, Hunter Owen, who had a perfect game, I think with 2 outs in the 5th inning, lost that, ended up giving up just 2 base runners. One of those was a home run to Cade Rose, who's been slumping. But Vanderbilt didn't generate a lot of offense. It had 8 hits, but it had 1 home run. That was by Parker Nolan. That was early. That put Vandy up 1-0. And the Commodores, that was all they would need with the way Hunter Owen pitched. Ryan Ginther and Nick Maldonado, their late inning arms, come in and each throw a scoreless inning. For Alabama, Garrett McMillan gave up 4 earned in 6 innings and gave up some hard hit balls at times, but they mostly stayed in the yard. Hagan Banks and Aiden Moza finished that one out for the bullpen, which pitched pretty well. Really, after Alabama gave up some early inning runs, neither staff could be much touched in that one. Anyway, Vandy is now 17-6, I believe a half game behind LSU for the SEC's overall lead. In Lexington, Kentucky has not had a run of good luck, and boy, neither has South Carolina with all those injuries. And this is one of these cases where somebody really needed to win, and it went to Kentucky, and this was not the script I don't think that anyone expected. Travis Smith, that's not a name that we've talked about on the pod at any point. He has been a midweek guy who's thrown well for them at times. He starts. He goes 6 innings, gives up 1 run, walks 3, gives up 4 hits, 5 strikeouts. Look, South Carolina is really banged up right now, pitching-wise, offensive-wise. Braylon Wimmer, their middle infielder, didn't play again last night. I believe they had to play Cole Messina, their catcher, at third because of some other injuries. Anyway, Kentucky, though, which has hit a rough stretch, I think has lost the last 4 series, got swept against Vandy last weekend, gets enough pitching through Travis Smith's start to coast to a 7-3 win. In that one, Gavin Casas hits a home run for South Carolina. And I guess the story for Carolina, Will Sanders, who's shown flashes of better things, showed flashes of what we saw earlier in the year, which was not as good. He gives up 4 earned runs in 5 innings. Carolina is really a team that I think is very, very good, but not healthy right now. Clearly not the same team. And Kentucky now at 12-10 in the SEC, I think is taking another step towards potentially hosting. That's going to be tricky because the remaining schedule not easy. But if Kentucky can say get to 16-14 or 17-15, I think the Cats with that 4 RPI have a great case. Florida wins a wild one at Texas A&M. Brandon Sproat gives up 4 earned in 5 1/3 innings. A&M again, Nathan Detmer not very good. He gives up the same line. And in this one, Trevor Warner and Jace Lavalette hit home runs for the Aggies, who've been hitting the ball well, but Florida just a little bit better. Cade Kurland, BT Riopelle hit home runs for the Gators. White Langford even stole a base in that one. In any case, Florida pounds out 8 hits. That was just enough to edge A&M. Florida 15-7, also in that multi-team hunt for the SEC's overall title. The Gators take game 1 in the series. A&M now 9-13. That RPI in the 40s. A&M really needs to get one on Saturday, or else I think that is going to quickly become right now A&M's a bubble team, and it's going to fall off the bubble, I think, if it can't win this series potentially. We'll see how the rest of this goes, or at least needs to take one to stay up in kind of the right footing in that. Okay, Ole Miss and Missouri. Missouri wins game 1 on Thursday, wins game 2 in a rout. That's 13-3. Ole Miss gets run ruled. Just the bad news continues for Ole Miss. Hunter Elliott out for the year. He's going to have modified Tommy John surgery. Hopes to be back next year. Missouri's really hit the ball lately. Luke Mann's had a great year. He hits another home run. Trevor Austin, Hank Zeisler, Ty Wilmsmeyer all hit home runs. Javin Pimental, not a guy that we've talked about a lot on this show, starts for Missouri, gives up 1 run in 4 innings, and the bullpen carries Missouri from there. Missouri now 7-16, got some work to do to make the NCAA tournament. All right, I'm Chris Lee for Southeastern 14, presented by Bearded Iris. We'll have a recap Sunday morning of Saturday's games. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button so you don't miss those. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.